Hi folks, this is a short video segment on some of the issues that you confront with in advanced machine tools. I'm not a major user of advanced machine tools. In fact, although the textbook every once in a while refers to that tool workbench, I say that you can basically pass the course without ever going there. However, this is an important workbench in Catia. Generally speaking, the meshes that we use can be done in the generative structure analysis. But if you need a fancy mesh, or you have to do certain tasks, it may not be possible to do it in generative structure analysis, and you have to do it in this workbench, okay? It's going to be a miscellaneous topics that I will be covering, but it's hovering around this mesh transformation toolbar, okay? And mesh transformation toolbar, the two sub-toolbars that I'm going to be discussing are this transformation, which is translation, rotation, and mirror, and the extrude transformation, which you will see it's translation, extrude along a direction, rotate, extrude around an axis, etc. All right. So let me go ahead and make a simple geometry. Basically, I'm going to go and start a part file. All right, and I will create some lines here and a surface. Okay, so let's start with for example, the surface. On this plane, I will sketch. Let me do a rectangle here. I'll do a rectangle right there. Okay, the actual size of it is irrelevant, but I would like to have always an idea of what these things are, how big these things are. So let's see now. This is roughly 2 inches. Okay, so let me make this thing 2, and obviously this is going to be around 4. So I'll make it about 3. Okay, good. Exit. Now I will be dealing with shell mesh a lot in this particular tour. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a surface on this right there. So we have a surface, and let me also draw some lines. Okay, the way I'm going to do this is by creating points and connecting them with lines. So let me see now. This is 0, 0, 0, 1 point there. Another one, it's going to be, say, a horizontal direction. So y of, I don't know, maybe 4. Okay, so let me make a line from here to here. Let me also do a vertical one now. So let's create a one point which is to the left of this 0, 0, 0. So I'll make it -4 and 0. Let's see where it is now. Actually, what I meant was -4 for y and 0 for x. Yeah, that's good actually. This is fine. And one vertically up. So exact the same thing, except that z, we're going to make it some value right there. Oops. Z up. Okay, so here's a line. Oops, where's my line? Right there. Line between this point and that point. Let me make one at an angle. So for example, why don't I create a point, let's say between this point and that point. exactly halfway, midpoint. So right there, there's a point, and now I'm going to make, where's that point? It's somewhere in space here, right? So now I'm going to make a line from here to here. All right. Let me actually put this thing to 0 and okay. All right. And maybe one more line. So another line. Another line in the, well, we can do it in uh, okay, let's just leave it the way it is. When we get to it, we're going to use it. All right. Now, so what I have here is this surface, two lines, one like that, one like this, and one vertical. The exact orientation of these things are not important, but okay. So first thing I'm going to do is to mesh this. Okay, so let's go ahead to Advanced Meshing Tool. There's Advanced Meshing Tool. And I'm going to mesh this with the shell element. Now, I could have done this in generative structure analysis. It doesn't matter. But in order to use these particular sub-toolbars, I would have to come back to the Advanced Meshing Tool. So I might as well do everything here. I'm going to make it a very nice four-sided element. Okay, something like that. And this is, I call it zapping. Okay, but it's really not zapping. It says mesh the part. And there we are. And we say OK. And once you're done meshing this thing, you have to exit this surface mesher. This is the surface mesher icon. So here's the exit. There we are. OK. All right. So let's start with the Extrude transformation toolbar. Not Extrude one. Mesh transformation toolbar. This one says translation. So what it means, I can take this mesh and translate it, that this mesh can be a shell, it can be a beam, or it can be a solid. Okay, however, of course, right now it's a shell. So I click on it. It says, well, what is the mesh that you want to translate? So let's say I want to translate this. And what is the direction? Now the direction, let's say that you want to do it vertically, or translate it in this direction, slanted direction. Okay, so let me take the slanted direction. Now the only thing, keep in mind that this direction must be actually a wireframe. You cannot draw a line in a sketch and then try to select that sketch, that line in the sketch. That won't work. It has to be a wireframe. Okay? This is why I drew it as a wireframe line in space. Okay, it says what distance you want to translate this thing. Well, I want to translate it by, let's say, 6. And it says, okay, do you want 6 copies of this, or do you want just 1 copy? Let me show you what happens if I say, for example, 4 or 4. Okay, apply. So what happens is that, look at what happened. It translated every 6 inches, one of these. If I say 1, then of course it's just going to be that one. So you get a picture. You see what this thing does. This guy takes a mesh and translates it in a certain direction. Now, as I said, that mesh for me right now is shell, but it could have been a beam, or it could have been a solid. All right. But you can always go and change these. For example, let's say I double click on that. Where is that? Right there, translate. I can go -6, so it's going to go in the other direction. Oops. -6. Let me make it -6. Right there. All right, so we know what this thing does. This one, it takes a mesh sorry, where's the other one? Right here. This one, this was translation. This one takes a mesh and rotates it about an axis. So let's click on it. Let's say we take this guy, and we want to rotate it about this direction, What happened here? That guy. And we want to rotate it about this by, let's say, 90 degrees. And we want to do it 4 times. 3 times. Apply. You see that? It takes that mesh and it rotated it about this 90 degrees 3 times, so it looks like that. Let's say that let's say I said 1 copy. Oops, I forgot. Where is this 1 copy? Apply, and there we are. Okay, good. Now, so we have discussed translation, we have discussed rotation. The mirror. Let's see what this thing does. Symmetry. You click on it, it says, well, where's your mesh? Okay, so let's say this mesh. Okay. It says, what is the plane? Well, let's select this vertical plane, for example. And then apply it. So it mirrored. Let me undo this, cancel that, because I think I wanted to mirror it with respect to some other plane. So with respect to that plane. Okay, so let's see, try it again. So mirror this with respect to that plane. Now I would expect that to be on the other side. Yeah, right there. Good. So you get the picture? I mirrored here a set of shell elements, but it could have been beam element, it could have been solid. Okay. So we basically exhausted this transformation toolbar. Okay? You have exhausted that. So as a matter of fact, let me now go to the other one, which is extrude transformation, right there. So just so that there's not too much distraction here, let me delete these. Delete. Okay, so we're back to this guy. So let's see now. The first one says extrude measure with translation. So you click on it. So this is my mesh. I want to translate it along this direction. And the distance starts, so 3 inches. And I want 6 layers of elements. Apply. See that? What it did, it took the shell mesh here, it extruded it parallel to that, 6 inches, 6 layers. Okay? So if I say, for example, 3 inches, 6 layers. So if I say maybe 1, it's going to be much thinner. Right there. So you get the picture? All right, very good. Now you can also make this thing uniform, or you can make it an arithmetic progression or geometric progression. In other words, the length changes, the extrusion length changes for each one of these layers. Cancel. Okay. Let me cancel that. Or say okay, fine. And what I can do, although I said okay, I can always hide it and do work with the other one. Okay. All right. Now, let me take this thing. Where's the next one? So this was translation. This one rotation. So let's do the following. Click on that. I want to take these guys, these shell element, rotate it about this 0 to say 90 degrees. I don't know, maybe 6 units. Apply. See that? It took that, rotated about this axis, 90 degrees I specified, and I wanted 6 layers. And once again, you can have it uniform, geometric progression. In other words, these distances change according to a uniform variation or arithmetic variation or geometric one. So I'll just leave it the way it is. Okay, good. By the way, this other guy is still here. It's just that I hid it. That's all. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean activate it. Hide it. Show it. There. Still there. Let me hide both of these. Hide this and hide that. Okay, so we tried translate, rotate, and this is with symmetry. Okay, so let's try this. So let's see now. It says, what is it that you want to extrude? Well, it's this. I have to read this thing carefully here. What is the plane? So let us okay, I think to show you this, I have to do something else. Cancel. Let me go and make a plane up here. So I'm going to go back to my wireframe and surface design. Let me make a plane. Where are the planes? Reference element right here. Offset from this. And let me pull it up a little bit. There. Okay. And all right. So where was this icon that you wanted to use? Back to Advanced Meshing Tools. Back there. And let's do the where is this guy here? Extrude measure with symmetry. It says, what is it that you want to extrude with symmetry? Is this. What is the plane? It is this plane. How many layers? So let's make it 12 layers. And then we say apply. See what happened? It created a mesh for us. Okay, with this shell mesh, and this is the plane of symmetry. So that's what it does. Okay. Now I want to show you something else. In order to show you that, I'm going to go and actually sketch something in space. The only problem is that when you sketch it, I don't think it's going to work. Let's try this. Let's try it, okay? To show you that sketch probably will not work. So let's go back to generative shape design, and on this plane, let me see. Sure, on that plane, I'm going to sketch. I'm going to sketch a curve with a spline. As I said, this I don't think is going to work. It cannot be a sketch, at least for direction it could not be a sketch. And in all likelihood here too. Okay, so back to generative structure analysis. I will come back and create this thing in space as a wireframe later on. Okay, so let's see now. It says, where is this guy? Here. It says extrude along a spine. So you click on that. Let me actually hide this last thing that I created. Okay. So where is this guy? Extrude this along this axis. See, if I go and select that curve, I don't think it'll do it for you. See that? It won't let you do that. This has to be a wireframe in space. So cancel that. This sketch that I created, this sketch was totally useless. So that was right here. I'm going to delete that. Let me go and make a wireframe. And the wireframe that I'm going to make is going to be like that. So let's say, let me create a couple of points here. Maybe between this point and this point, not exactly in the middle, but I want somewhere up there. So let me take it to some other location. Let me see now. Do I have 3 points in space? Okay, so here, let's do a space curve. Okay, so a spline in space. This is spline in space. So I'm going to make it go through, for example, this point and that point and that point. Did I do that? Let's try it again. A spline through this point, and that point. Some curve like this. This is not a sketch. It's a wireframe. So let me hide these other lines that are blocking my view. Hide this, and let's try to do that sweep here. So let's see now. Where was this guy? Back to advanced meshing tool. Okay, so it was right here. It says the meshed part is here, is right there, and the axis is that guy, which I couldn't pick before when I did it as a sketch. And 12 layers, I don't know, this says 0 to 1 inches. My guess is that this is around 4 or 5 inches, so let's make this thing 4. There. See what it did? It took that, see this? See what it took that shell mesh and created a solid mesh going along this direction. Okay? Let me see now. Let me make this thing even longer. Maybe 8. I don't know if this is 8. Actually, it's actually not 8. Is way up there. It's not going to get to it. So 6. This one probably works. Maybe 7. Okay, so I think we already reached the end. The length of this guy is probably around 6 inches or 6.5 inches. Let's see now. 6.5. Okay, fine. Oh, you know what? It went all the way to 6.5 inches, and then because it was uniform, it has this leftover there. But that's really not the point that I wanted to show you. I want to show you something else. We have covered all of these things. I've achieved my goal. However, there's something I want to show you here. It says cutting plane. Let me see if that is that the one. Cutting plane. Look what happens. You can actually take your mesh and cut it with different planes. Okay, this is the exact intersection. If you want to see approximate intersection, is right there. All right, so I've shown you some. Oh, one last thing that I want to do. Cancel. Okay, let me show you one last thing. This guy is aligned, so I can mesh it, or doesn't have to be aligned. It can be a curve. Doesn't matter. So I can mesh it with beam elements like that. And maybe we make it 0.5. Okay, it's right there. Let me hide this so that you can actually see the mesh. Did I do that? So where is this? Let's go here. It's right there. So let me look at the. There's the beam elements. Now remember this extrude, for example, or all of these other ones, the translation, rotation, and things work. But I want to show you something with this extrude. Look, you can take this. So this is your mesh part, and you can translate it along. Let's say I hit some lines here. So let me get some of these lines back. We can translate it along this for some distance. See, what happens is that you can take beam elements, extrude them to get shell element, and if necessary, you can take this and extrude it to get solid element. Okay, so let's see, let's try that. So here's another extrude. These guys along some direction. I don't know. Let me take a direction that so this. Did I hide some of the lines here? Let's say this. Let's extrude it along that. Apply. You see? You can do things like this. Now, the one thing I have to tell you is that after you create all these meshes, there's really not much you can do with it in Catia, because Catia is a feature-based finite element program. Its FEA solver is feature-based. In other words, the restraints and things, the restraints and load, they must be specified on geometrical feature, on edge, on point, on line, on plane, etc. And here, we created the mesh, but we don't have any features. However, you can take this mesh and export it into some other package that allows you to put constraints and loads on nodes, and that can be done. I mean, this is useful. The intention was designers create complicated object quickly. Based on that, they create complicated, they mesh those complicated geometries, and then they export these geometries, these meshes, into FEA packages that can work with nodes and elements. Okay, and that will be it for this video clip.